So, did I ever tell you this story about this teacher I worked with once, Steffi Schultz? No, obviously not, I just got here. Well, she had me to work with her grade 5-6 split class, just like a songwriting workshop. And it'd been a long time since I've worked with little kids because for the past couple of years I've been in grad school and working as a teaching assistant, so mainly dealing with 20-year-old art school students. And maybe you can imagine what that's like. They all drink and smoke and make experimental films where the sound of the person's voice doesn't happen at the same time as the person's mouth moving, which is like totally on purpose and like really avant-garde, and you cannot give me a low grade, and then you go. You go to their film screenings, and the next day in tutorial they stare at you like, did you see that? Yeah. You can't explain anything to me because I'm an artist. And I stare back at them like, I can't explain anything to you because you're hungover. So I had been teaching a lot, but to a very different demographic, and I felt really bad with these grade 5-6s because I started off the entire workshop by playing them a song that I used to really like as a kid, The Battle of New Orleans by Johnny Horton. You guys know that one? The chorus goes, we fired our guns and the British kept it coming. There wasn't as many as there was a while ago. And then in the verses, there's more killing, and then someone uses an alligator as a bomb. So, yeah, on the recording that I learned it from, there's this part that the backup vocalists do. They say, ha, 2, 3, 4, sounds off, let's go. And then in the moment I think, this is a really good participation opportunity for these children. So I teach it to them, and now I'm playing accordion, and I'm singing about shooting British people, and these tiny children are saying, ha, 2, 3, 4, sounds off, let's go, but they're doing it a little bit too enthusiastically, so they sound a little bit fascist. And now the principal comes in, and she sees this, and her face is just iron. But I keep playing, still singing, but I start looking around the classroom, and I realize it is wall-to-wall plastered with anti-violence posters. Oh, no. And the closer I look, the more it becomes obvious that they just finished an entire unit on global peace. So above the principal's head, there's a poster of like a kitten riding a pit bull that says something like, true strength is gentle. Obviously, there's a photo of Gandhi over the teacher's desk. And I look in the front row, and there's this kid, the most enthusiastic singer. He's saying, ha, 2, 3, 4, and he's even got his little fingers pointing at little guns. This kid is wearing a shirt that says, be the change you want to see. So I finish the song, and the principal gives me this look and shakes her head in a way that moves her entire body as if like a spider had just crawled down her back. But she leaves, and I look over at the teacher who brought me in, and Steffi Schultz is smiling to herself. Yeah. And it's a bit of an unsettling smile. It's like, So I finish the workshop, and it's the end of the day, the kids are gone, I'm packing up, and Steffi tells me the story. So every year, Steffi and her class learn about Barkerville. Now, I imagine everyone here knows all about Barkerville, British Columbia. Hands up if you've been to Barkerville. Okay, hands up who hasn't been to Barkerville. Well, you really should go to Barkerville, the rootinest, tootinest, reconstructed, buildingest, historical Rushtown tour site in all of BC. Who hasn't been? Who hasn't been? You, what's your name? Anson? Anson, would you like to vamoose the ranch? You bet your boots you would! Walking the footsteps of Billy Barker, a humble British miner whose life had gone up the flume when one day, after years of ski-daddling in the slum gully, he saw wash boulders and hit pay dirt near Williams Creek. No more chewing the fat over strawberries at the gut scraper, am I right? Right. So Barkerville is a historic gold rush town for tourists. And every year, Steffi and her class learn about it by building Barkerville in the classroom. And it is a bit of a job.
Can you hear me? Alright, you have to listen. So they start with these huge panels of cardboard, like moving boxes that they And they support them from the back so they stand like theatrical flags. And some of them have doors that you can walk through. These will be like buildings, like the post office, the general store, the saloon, all of Barkerville, right? Right. You can order a smoothie now too if you want it for the next 30 seconds. Some edamame. Something that requires a lot of dishes to be washed. Barkerville, they paint their buildings based on that, which is kind of interesting, right? They build a fake heritage town based on a fake heritage town. Which is totally meta. They work on it through the entire winter, and then spring comes. On the last day of the project, Seppi gathers up her class. She says, "Class, I have some bad news for you. As you know, Barkerville is a town made of wood. And we have a lot of industry in this town, don't we? Josh, blacksmith, you have your farm. Leah, Aiden, you like to keep the rooming houses pretty warm, don't you? Which means a lot of fires and a lot of stoves. There are a lot of sparks going through this wooden town, a lot of sparks. Class, today, your town is going to burn to the ground." Yeah, they start making preparations, and everyone gets to help, but two of the kids actually get to be the fire. And she has costumes for them. She has like, you know those plastic rain ponchos you can get for camping? Yeah. She has two of those in safety orange. So the kids wear those. They spend some time cutting out little flames from cardboard and stapling it to their ponchos. So one girl ends up with flames going from her elbow to her wrist. She looks a bit like a dragon. The other kid has just gone nuts with the stapler. He stapled flames all over himself. You can barely see. Actually, he looks a little bit like a neon orange hedgehog. Anyway, once they're all ready, she has them line up in front of the building. She gets them to take off their shoes, and then she yells, "Fire!" And all hell breaks loose. The kids start knocking down the buildings, and even in their soft feet, the destruction is magnificent. Some of the kids are so ramped up that they're running laps around the classroom, out the doorway, back into the classroom, and they're yelling, "Burn it down! Burn it down! Burn it down!" Some of the kids have started acting out little scenes like, "Not my millinery, my precious hats, oh no! Don't worry, I'll save your hats. You couldn't possibly, the flames are far too high. Courage, do not weep for me. There goes the bravest man in Barkerville." Some of the kids are having arguments, like one kid says, "We should call the fire department." The other kid says, "No, let it burn. What has Barkerville ever done for me?" Their whole lives are in this town. No, burn it. I'm done with this place. And then a bookish child interrupts and says, "Well, technically, we're all going to have to let this one burn down because technically there is no fire department." Why? Why, cry the children? Why? In all of this building did we not build a fire department? And the bookish child replies, because technically the William Street Fire Brigade was not built until 1868, after the Great Fire of Barkerville had burnt it to the ground. This happened twice. Now two of the girls are following Steffi around and they're saying, Miss Schultz, our fire's all done. What do we do now?" Find something else to burn down. But it's all gone. It's all gone. Steffi smiles. So now, all that's left of Barkerville is heaped up in the middle of the classroom, these big, awkward scraps of cardboard, and Steffi gets the kids to form a line. Out the door, down the hallway, down another hallway, really big school, around this table, people drinking beer, until she gets them into the parking lot. So then, the kids start passing Barkerville hand to hand, all the way down, like a fireman's lineup, until all of it is in the parking lot. Most of it goes into the big recycling bins at the back, but Steffi gathers a small pile of colorful paper scraps, and she gathers the class to stand around. It's 3 p.m. on a cool spring afternoon. The sky darkens. The wind lifts. The air is growing colder. The children are shivering. They're shifting from one foot to another, hugging themselves to stay warm. Barkerville flutters at their feet. Steffi reaches into her pocket. She calls a kid forward to stand out from the huddle. She calls a willing host to come and stand for it out of the huddle. And she pulls a lighter out of her pocket. Why don't you stand over here, willing kid? She flicks it on. She flicks it off. She hands it to the kid. He flicks it on. The little light glows eerily under his face. And then Steffi changes her mind. She has the willing kid sit back down, has everyone stand back 10 feet, and then she lights the pile herself. Steffi and her class lean together in the parking lot and watches the flames puff up orange, rise to about a foot high, now bending back on themselves, shaved down by a gust, and shooting forward, spinning sideways and rising higher, and higher, and higher, and then collapsing on themselves, ashes,